Tam yena tasmai namah. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we shall continue from reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first Canto, 9th chapter, text number 45 onwards. So the Goswami says, Sapratantu nedur devamanavavadita shasham so sadhavo ragyam khatpetu pushpavishtaya. Translation. Thereafter both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced demonstration of honor and respect, and from the sky fell showers of flowers. So, Bhishmadev, because he was not an ordinary human being, he was a great, Vaishnava, a great Kshatriya. So he was well known not only in the human society, but even in the society of devas or demigods. Even among the sages and rishis, he was very well known. Generally, the sages or the brahmanas, of high caliber, they consider the royalty as a refuge. They consider the wealth and managing the state, or taking care of the political affairs as useless waste of time, because for them the purpose of human life is actually to perfect one's understanding of relationship with the Supreme. So self-realization or God-realization, that is the ultimate aim of human life. And the brahmanas and sages, they are mostly interested in that subject matter. Unlike in the modern times, you see the brahmanas or even the so-called great saintly persons, they have all kinds of nonsensical agenda. They want to open the hospitals, the schools. They talk about nationalism, and they have all kinds of crazy ideas. But the true brahmanas and sages, they understand that this world is a temporary place. I am, here in this material world with this material body, I've been given an opportunity to perfect my life. So, therefore, they don't waste their time in accumulating wealth or trying to make a big settlement in this world. They try to perfect their lives. And therefore, even if they do get, sometimes the kings, when they would perform great sacrifice, they would give actually a lot of charity to brahmanas. So brahmanas, even if they do get a lot of charity from the royalty, they just, take whatever is essential for them. Like, we hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, when Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to perform Rajasuya Yajna, he sent all his brothers, and especially Arjun went the north to get the wealth. Krishna told him that in the ancient time there was some great Raj Rishi who had performed Yajna, And he had given a lot of charity to Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas were so given so much gold in charity, the golden vessels and the golden jewelry and so much gold in charity they were given. So Brahmanas, they carried, whatever they could carry, and the burden of the gold and everything was so much that they threw away everything. After coming out from the palace of the king, they threw away all the gold and everything. It was left in the Himalayas. So Krishna told Arjun that now it's an opportunity for you to go and collect all the gold, and Bhishma and Yudhishthira Maharaj can actually perform sacrifice with that gold. And Arjun had actually collected all that. But the interesting thing is, the Brahmanas had thrown away their golden articles of the Yajna paraphernalia, and nobody bothered to collect it. Even the other citizens, they did not care to collect it. The king did not think of, okay, they have thrown it away, let me collect it back. No. Nobody was really interested in collecting it. So Brahmanas generally, they don't like to collect. Even we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a description in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam that Lord Ramachandra, he gave away his entire kingdom to the Brahmanas in charity. And the Brahmanas returned the entire kingdom to Lord Ramachandra, saying that, my Lord, what you are going to do with this kingdom? You only take care of this kingdom. We cannot take care. So, the Brahmanas and sages, they are not really interested in politics or even so-called sociology or business, accumulating wealth, money. They don't have any interest in any of such things. And Bhishma was apparently a person living in the palace and involved in a lot of politics. In fact, a lot of dirty politics. He was witnessing the dirty politics of Dhritarashtra. How Dhritarashtra was, being very much, controlled by his vicious son, Duryodhana. He was conspiring to kill the Pandavas. And Bhishma was, witnessing all of that. Injustice being done to Pandavas, So, and he was trying to counsel Dhritarashtra in many ways. So Bhishma was very much involved in politics. He was living in the palace in the midst of all, politicians. And yet, he was not considered by the sages and the Brahmanas as an ordinary human being. They all knew that he was a great soul. Because Bhishma, although a great politician or living in the palace, among the politicians, yet was a great Vaishnava. His devotion to Lord Krishna was unparalleled. Not to be seen even in the great sages. So they knew. And even demigods in the higher planetary system, they knew Bhishma. Generally, in the human society, somebody may be very famous, but their fame does not reach any way to the higher planetary system. For example, take a simple example. The demigods, they consider human beings as insignificant as ants. Now just imagine in, say, in the backyard of your home, in your garden, backyard, there may be thousands or sometimes even millions of ants. If you dig the ground, under the ground, we will find millions of ants, in the entire yard. So in that society of ants, there might be some ant which is very famous. All the ants there know that. But do we as human beings really care to know which ant is great or known as great ant in the society of ants? We really don't care. So similarly, for demigods, human beings on this earth are actually like ants, insignificant like ants. So even if somebody becomes very world famous, has millions of followers on the social media groups, people are always running behind to take his autograph. Whenever the person goes in any place, maybe thousands of people may follow him, but that fame is simply insignificant. Demigods, they never bother to even uh, you know uh, worry to hear about that person. For them, it's all insignificant like ants. But Bhishma Deva was not like that. His fame, similarly, Yudhishthira Maharaj and Pandava, they were not ordinary. Their fame reached even to the demigod society. So much so that Urvashi, she actually wanted to have union with Arjun when he visited the heavenly planets. Generally, nobody is allowed to enter the heavenly planets with the body, that body that we have. They're not allowed to enter into heavenly planets with this body. But Arjun could enter in the heavenly abodes with his same body. And not only he could enter the heavenly planets, Urvashi felt attracted to Arjun. She wanted to have union with him, which Arjun refused. So, similarly, Bhishma Dev's glories and his fame was even known in the society of demigods. When he passed away, all the not only sages were there, but they are also the demigods. They came down and they started showering flowers on Bhishma Dev. We go to text 46. Tasya nirhara nadini sampare tasya bhargavam yudhishthira karyatvam muhurtam dukkito bhavat. O descendant of Bhrigu, Shaunaka, after performing funeral rites for the dead body of Bhishma Dev, Maharaj Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. So it's natural because Yudhishthira Maharaj was, the grandson for Bhishma Dev, and all the five Pandavas were the object of great love and affection for Bhishma Dev. In fact, not only Pandavas, even Duryodhana and all the other sons of Dhritarashtra, they were also equally, object of Bhishma Dev's affection, love. But because Bhishma Dev was a great Vaishnava, and the Pandavas were also great Vaishnavas, so Bhishma Dev had special affinity towards the Pandavas. And of course, Pandavas also had so much love and affection for Bhishma Dev. So when then Bhishma Dev passed away, Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas, they actually felt great pain. They felt sorrow. Of course, that sorrow is not like worldly sorrow. That grief, which is being described here, is also another form of joy. Because Vaishnavas understand when a Vaishnava leaves this world, he's not dead or gone away. The Vaishnava know that when anyone leaves the body in this world, they are just gone out of my sight. Not that they are finished, they are dead. No. The soul is gone away from my sight. I don't have access to that person anymore. That's all. So there's not grief, but at the same time, there is also a feeling of separation that, I will not be able to have the association of that person anymore. So Pandavas were feeling in the similar way that, our grandfather, Bhishma, who was also such a great Vaishnava and so loving and kind to everyone, not be able to, see him anymore. So after performing the last rites, at least till the time dead body is there, there is some affinity. But after the last rites are performed, then the only thing that is left is the memories about the person. So therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthira was overtaken by the grief, momentarily, of course. Not that he was constantly weeping and crying over the departure of Bhishma Dev. Text 47. Tushtabur Hishta Krishnam Tad Guhyanamabhi Tataste Krishna Hridayam Swashnaman Prayayu Punam. All the great sages then glorified Lord Sri Krishna, who was present there by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their hearts. So of course, sages had come to see the departure of Bhishma Dev, but the sages are also very much, attracted to the beautiful form of Lord Krishna. So all the sages and the Brahmins who had come there, they had come to see the passing away of Bhishma Dev, and after seeing the passing away of Bhishma Dev and seeing the last rite being performed, they started returning to their own abodes. So in this way, the sages, they all actually left after the passing away of Bhishma Dev, remembering Krishna in their heart. So text 48. Tato Yudhishthiro Gatva Saha Krishno Gajahavyam Pitaram Santavyam Asam Gandharim Tapasvinim. Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthira at once went to his capital Hastinapur, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna. And there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. So, after performing the last rites of Bhishma Dev, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually went to talk to Yudhishthira and Gandhari, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Because Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they had 100 sons, and all the 100 sons died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So naturally, and of course, Yudhishthira Maharaj was instrumental in killing all those 100 sons. Although Bhima had the one who had killed all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, but Yudhishthira Maharaj was instrumental in one way, because to establish him as the king, the whole war had taken place. So naturally, Yudhishthira Maharaj could understand that this must have created immense amount of grief for Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. So therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj went to console both of them. Text 49 is the last verse. Pitra chanumato raja Vasudevānumoditam Chakara rajyam dharmena Pitra paita maham vibhu. After this, the great religious king Yudhishthira Maharaj executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles, approved by the uncle and confirmed by Lord Krishna. So here, this verse is actually a very significant and important verse. Pitra Shanumato Raja Vasudevan Modita. So two things are mentioned here. Pitra Chanumato. Anumata means approval. So although Dhritarashtra was the king and the battle had taken place to establish Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king, after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, King Dhritarashtra, he actually gave his anumati. Pitra cha anumato. So Pitra means generally father, father-like personality. So Dhritarashtra, though he was uncle, but he referred as Pitra. Pitra cha anumato raja. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he got the anumata, the approval of Dhritarashtra. Actually, in the ancient times, this used to be the custom, Naranam cha Naradhipa. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, among the human beings, I am the king. Naranam cha Naradhipa. Naradhipa, Adhipa means the king. So the leader of the human society is only a king. So king represents a vibhuti of Shri Krishna. And therefore, one should not be unnecessarily critical to the king. In modern times, you can say, politicians. Nobody can become or assume the position in a very high post until unless the person has some vibhuti, some blessings of Krishna. So, and of course, when we say blessings of Krishna, I mean blessings of Krishna through his material energy, Maya Shakti. So somebody, may become a great king or a leader in the human society by the blessings of Maya Shakti of Krishna. So one should not be unnecessarily critical to such kings or politicians. Of course, in modern times, most of the politicians are, not all, but most of the politicians are actually highly corrupt. And therefore, people do get upset, whenever they hear about. But sometimes, even if you don't hear about any politician's corruption, still people want to unnecessarily be critical to the politicians. So that's not a good thing, good practice. In ancient times, it was a custom that even if the battle took place and one king is defeated, so the king who was victorious, in order to occupy the throne of the king who is defeated, he would generally, ask the king of the territory, who was defeated, to transfer the powers, officially transfer the power to him. It was only in the modern, recent times, especially when, Mughals and the British started actually invading the whole world. Then, all the dharma was lost because there's no fight on the basis of dharma. So if they capture the king who is defeated, they would just behead him, kill him. But that was never used to be the case in the case of, in the Vedic culture. Like even we see from Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna went with Arjuna and Bhima to defeat Jarasandha. Jarasandha was killed by Bhimsena. But Krishna did not tell the Pandavas to take over the kingdom of Jarasandha. So the king of Magadha was still the son of Jarasandha. He was installed as the king. His name was, I believe, Sahadev. Another Sahadev, beside the Pandavas. So this was the Sahadev, son of Jarasandha. He was established by Krishna as the king of Magadha. And later on, of course, he fought on the side of Pandavas, the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So that used to be the custom. So not unnecessarily killing or being critical to the king, because king represents the vibhuti of Krishna. But we see here Yudhishthira Maharaj, he took Anumata from his uncle, who was practically the enemy king for Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yet, because he was also related to the family, Dhritarashtra was, not neglected by Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Yudhishthira Maharaj took the blessings of, his uncle, and in order to set up the code of conduct, what kind of, ruling should be there for the citizens. He actually took the permission of his father-like personality, King Dhritarashtra, who happened to be his uncle. And Vasudeva Anumodita. Not only he took the blessings of his uncle, but Anumodita means approved. Even Krishna, Vasudeva, he approved all the policies and the way of or conduct of ruling Yudhishthira Maharaj set up. So in this way, we see here that Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was not a whimsical king. Prabhupada said he was not just a mere tax collector. Collect the taxes and live a royal life at the cost of ordinary citizens and no service to the citizens. That makes the king sinful. If the politicians or the kings, if they simply collect the taxes from people in general, but do not provide them, the appropriate protection. And protection does not mean protection from thieves, rogues, or the attack of other kings. But protection means, the true protection for the soul, for the living entities, which is provided by the kings in the form of creating the culture of Krishna consciousness. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was a very responsible king. He set up all the ruling in his kingdom in such a way that people should have more and more opportunity to become Krishna conscious. So in this way, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he being blessed by Krishna and also taking the permission of his uncle, assumed the role of the king. And with this, the chapter 9 is concluded. So we will start next week, chapter 10, which is entitled as The Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. So we will stop here. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask at this time.